Welcome to Healthy Living with Christina Changwa. As always, I am elated to be before you this evening. Usually it's evening here when I post this, or whatever time you're watching this. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another week of healthy living. And as always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so today we'll be looking at something that I just like everything else is dear to my heart, or something that has helped me be the healthiest version of myself. And I really believe it's going to help you. I really believe it's going to be one of those things that as always, if it's not directly addressed to you, which usually I strongly believe you can find one or two things in there that can help you personally. It's also something that I believe can help you understand other people better, can be a tool for you to pray for someone to be the better, healthier version of themselves, or can be used as something to help another person. By that I mean it can be shared with a friend and whatnot, just to help them be the healthiest version of themselves, right? Okay, so today we'll be looking at the thief that is comparison. One might wonder why I use the word thief. I would say thief, I would say trap, whatever is not the nicest, right? And that's because comparison, and I'm not talking about compare and contrast like we are taught to do in school, but it's basically from the same concept. It's usually an examination between two similar things, like to determine what's similar as well as what's dissimilar about two particular things. So you're pinning two things against each other in order for you to see the similarities or the dissimilarities, right? But I prefer on the urban take of that, which is what I'm personally talking about, is mostly related with the feelings of jealousy, the feelings of covetousness, like to covet someone else's thing, like I wish I had this and that. And usually it's between things of similar spheres. If you're going to compare, it's usually between things of similar spheres, like maybe someone of the same sex, like you're both female and whatnot, or someone of the how can I explain it? I'll give a personal example. At this particular point in time, I'm a mom, like 8 months postpartum. So maybe I would look at another mom who's 8 months postpartum, and I'm like, oh, how is she managing? Is she sleeping through the night? Are their babies sleeping through the night and stuff? Really, this is something that cuts across everything. Jobs, sometimes you're comparing how you're doing a job versus someone else. Or for me, in my position as a leader, I'm comparing maybe two of my subordinates. I'm thinking, this one works like this person doesn't work like this and stuff. So it's something that is it's happening. It's happening, whether consciously or subconsciously, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening in our spheres and whatnot. And why would I refer to it as a thief? Why would I refer to it as a trap? That's like the whole point of this video. I remember in 2020, the Lord taught me something profound, something I didn't even know was somewhat occurring. Really, most of these videos as a result of an epiphany, as a result of revelation. Revelation is something that was hidden, but now it's like, oh my God, how did I not see that thing is there? And that's literally why I do these videos, to help another person see maybe there's something occurring and it's not obvious to you, or you do know it's happening but you need help as to like how to deal with it and stuff. So for me in 2020, as I was explaining, I was reading the Gospels, and the Lord showed me something through the Gospels, the parable of talents specifically. So it talks about a master who breaks down. I'll put the passage there so you can read it on your own, not the whole thing. It talks about the master who gives 3 of his servants different amounts of money. Others say money, others believe it's influence, whatever. So he gives them 3 different amounts. To one he gives 10, to one he gives 5, to one he gives 1. And so the Lord, as I was reading, I'm seeing the one who had 10 produces 20, the one who has 5 produces 10, and the one who had 1 buried it and produced nothing, and the master was angry. Okay, so I'm like, wow, I'm really learning a lot. Until that day, I saw something I'd never seen before, and it really made me think, like, what if that person, because sometimes when we read the Bible, I believe we read it like it's a story or a novel or whatever, like something completely out of this world, not necessarily something you can relate with one-on-one, or putting yourself in that position and wondering, if I were that person, what would it be like, right? So you've been given money. Now imagine you see the one with the least. And in business, usually if I have 2 pairs of shoes, I may sell out faster than a person that has 20 pairs of shoes, because you're trying to sell. And even the tactics that I would use, maybe I just post online and say, look, I have these pairs of shoes, this size, this and this, oh my god, let me have it. But maybe you have 20, you sold 10, but you have 20, so now you're advertising, sponsoring ads, shiny, doing memes and whatnot, just to get the 20 to sell. So I really sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, I can imagine how it must have felt for the person with 10. Like, you're out there literally trying to reproduce and make 20, and he achieved it. Probably, in my assumption, took a longer time than maybe the person with 5. So you come and see the person with 1 buried, and maybe people are comparing you, on the farm, I assume is where they were, and they're like, oh look, the guy with 1 probably in that entire time was just chilling, just relaxing, just vibing, living his best life, talking about how stress-free he is, he's sleeping, while people are out there in the streets grinding, I'm just in bed and whatever. And you can imagine if you were the person with 10 looking at your friends, like it looks as though they've made it, and you're still pushing. And then when the master came, imagine if, let's say, the one with 10 has seen, and like I said, the one with 1 has done whatever, the one with 5 has already reproduced 10, and I'm at 17 or I'm at 15. I think that's okay. I mean, at least I've made something out of it. It should be okay comparing to the others, right? I hope we're taking note of that, because that's what we're talking about. And so imagine the master comes, and if you read the passage, as I believe you will, the master was judging each by their individual lane, by the individualities which he gave them, those talents, those that money, that authority, whatever way you would like to interpret it. He did not bring them together and say, okay, at least tell me you've given me a minimum of 5 out of everything I've given you. No, he judged them literally by individuals. And so imagine if the one with 10 stops to compare himself to the others, he would have lost out. In another gospel, it actually says, that the master looks at the one with 10 and says, wow, because you've been faithful with this 10, I'll give you authority over 10 cities. Imagine, from handling money to managing cities. He would have missed out on that promotion simply because he was comparing to another. So that's why I call it a thief. That's why I call it a trap. If I were to sit here, and it's something that ever since the Lord taught me, that I try as much as I can to manage myself. I know my story. I know I did not come from a well-to-do home at the time. My mom really pushed and did the most for me to get an education. I know how smart I am, right? Like, by that I mean my ability to understand concepts, and I know I have a photographic memory. So maybe I'm in school and I'm sleeping the entire time, and I'm like, it's all about getting, just the pass mark. So I can sleep and study the night before, and I'll still at least get above the pass mark because I know my ability. That's me comparing to another person who is struggling. They've been studying the entire semester just to break through and get that pass mark, and I'm thinking, yeah, at least I'm doing something sensible. That's not how the Lord is judging me. He's looking at me as an individual. Like, I actually gave you the ability to be the highest in this course, and yet you're comparing to someone who's struggling, and then making yourself feel better about yourself, right? And then sometimes it's in the inverse. You look at another person and it makes you feel worse. Maybe you're the person who's studied the entire semester just to hit the mark, and you're looking at someone who was playing the entire time, and then they are literally like the highest person in the course. Again, it robs you of that that gratitude that the Lord actually made you clear the course. The Lord actually got you to a certain level. I'll come again back to the example I gave about me being a mom postpartum. So maybe I'm sitting, like we are all pregnant, like I'm just assuming in this sphere where there's just pregnant women. We were all pregnant, and as pregnant women, I noticed that we all loved a sense of, I'm not pregnant right now, I just say that, but we all loved a sense of community. We all want a sense of community, and so we're talking to each other like, oh, I'm puking the whole day, I'm this, I don't have cravings, oh, I have aversions and whatever, and it's making us feel good about ourselves. But it might also make you feel bad, like you're comparing, like, look at that person, all they do is chew. And I can relate, because it was such a horrible situation and stuff. And I remember this one time, I've shared it before, this one time I was just done. I was honestly done. Everyone was telling me like, but look at your body, you've barely, like, my belly wasn't showing and whatever, like I had lost weight, like I said, like I had ab lines. Others are looking at me and they're thinking, wow, that's the body I want to have when I'm pregnant. For me, it wasn't, it was the opposite, because it was as a result of me being sick. So for me, it's as a result of me being sick. So I'm just there thinking, I just want to be better. And I remember one day just going to cry to the Lord, like, Lord, come on. And I remember the Lord's response wasn't like, my daughter, you're right. Now that I look at all these millions of people who are not suffering the way you are, let me do something about it. No, instead he was looking at me as an individual, and he corrected me and said, if only you knew who you were carrying. And I've never forgotten that. It completely changed my perspective. I wasn't just looking like, oh, look at, compared to that person, I'm going through the most. It changed my perspective. I began to appreciate my journey. It gave me gratitude for my strength, and every day I'm grateful to God, because the strength I needed to endure what I endured at the time. And that's why I respect process, right? To endure what I endured at the time made it easy for me to go through the rest of my journey. It made me a better mother, because I could endure certain things, right? Like them injecting my baby with those big needles. Imagine I'd have been hysterical, tossing myself around, or believed I'm being the best mom by protecting her from going to the hospital, because why should she go through that suffering, whatever, just gaslighting myself. But the fact that I sat and I endured certain things gave me the ability, like, look, I can handle this. She cried the whole night and whatever, like, it was very hard, but I was there for her, because I had gone through a certain process. So it robs you of that self-respect to actually appreciate yourself for all the work that you put in. It robs you of the self, like, I'll give an example again on the same thing. I remember going on 6 days postpartum for checkups, and her first checkups, and this medical worker looks at me and says, I almost did not allow you to see the postnatal doctor because of your belly. So I was convinced you are pregnant. So I was going to put you on the line for, antenatal, and I just had no energy to deal with her, because I just came from the most, a literal whole C-section, and it was crazy. So I'm just trying to be the healthiest version of me, to be present for my daughter, and they're talking to me about boring things like my belly. I just didn't care, but my heart hurt for the mom who maybe is going through postpartum depression and whatever. Like, those words could break any other person, right? So my whole point is, I seriously didn't care that she was comparing me to all the other mothers on the postnatal line, and she's like, oh, obviously because you're the C-section bellies go in slower and whatever. I seriously do not care. I wasn't going to let it rob me from just how highly I regarded myself. I thought I was the best. Like, Superman had nothing on me for what I had done and bringing life into the world. No one was going to rob that joy from me. No. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it can demerit your individuality. I had my own journey. I have my own identity, and there's something that the Lord was doing and building through me. And so I will not allow the fact that someone else has longer hair than me. I'll give an example as a natural, right? I love my hair. I don't know if you've, we're going through the most, me and this beautiful mane here. And so maybe someone might see this and then think, oh my God, she's got beautiful hair. The next thing you're on the this is the internet. And there's people with longer, more luscious, more beautiful hair than me. Then I become depressed. Like, oh my God, let me just go bald. Because what's the point? My hair is not as long as the other Africans with like long hair. No. I know what I've gone through with my hair. So I appreciate my individual journey. Don't let someone else steal that from you. And most importantly, don't let yourself be a hindrance that robs you of that. It robs you of respect. It robs you of individuality. As I've said, it also robs you of seeing what the Lord is doing with you. You are unique. There's a way the Lord made you and your journey, the way He wrote your script. That is just you. There are certain things I can never. Sometimes people wonder, like, okay, why have you started? I'll give an example. I launched my YouTube channel the same day as my best friend, and we had never even spoken about it and stuff. We're just like, oh my God, girl, and laughed about it and moved on. But someone might be out there thinking, look, she's got more subscribers, look, there's this, like, look, like, I sincerely do not care. I say that with the utmost respect. I follow all her videos and she follows mine as well. We're literally there. If she's preached maybe that particular day, I am there watching her sermons, even though we're in completely two different churches, because that's what friends do. I will not let it bother me. I've known her since the 8th grade. I've seen her like completely transform the same way she's seen me completely transform. So I will not let anything rob me. There's stuff that I know what's been in the background. I'm like her biggest cheerleader, as well as she's someone I genuinely respect and I believe I can receive from. Why? Because the Bible tells us that as the body of Christ, every joint supplies. So there's something you can receive from every single person. Comparison robs you of that. If you're sitting here thinking, I'll only follow people with 10,000 or millions of followers, they're the only people, obviously based off of their followers, they're the only people who actually the Lord is speaking through, then you're missing out on a lot. You're honestly missing out on a lot. The other day I was thinking back as I was watching the service, right? Like all the time whenever I'm in church and whatnot, like I'm waiting for the sermon, I'm waiting for the word from the Lord, and it's going to bless me. But I genuinely get blessed throughout the service. I get blessed as that younger person prays. Even through the kids ministry, I genuinely get blessed. And that I was telling the Lord, like, wow, but you truly can minister through anything and anyone. This is the God who spoke through a donkey, right? You completely miss it if you're limiting yourself to certain things because you're comparing between two things. And that's on an individual level. But ladies and gentlemen, like, how do you deal with comparison then when it's like from another person? When someone, I think a month or two, maybe 3 months ago, someone came to visit, and whatever we had in the moment, it's not necessarily like our besties. And then as the person was leaving, they looked at me and said, you need to work on your body. So I was like, okay. And I moved on with my life. They have no idea the testimony behind, again, everything that I had gone through, everything I survived, everything me and my baby survived, and how much I had the people I lived with, my mom, my sisters, and whatever, like postpartum, my husband, name it, all of them still put their hands on their heads at how I would just wake up every morning and I've shredded a whole bunch of weight. And there are millions of people that don't necessarily experience that, but others do. Others, the next day, they are completely back to their weight before the baby. So I was not going to let what that person said rob me. Like, again, opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has them. Like, you do you, sweetie. Like, she probably has kids or whatever, so she has her own experience. I have my own experience, right? I'm not going to let it rob me of what the Lord is doing with me. And I won't let something so shallow take away from my joy. People don't understand the magnitude of their words, but that's on them. I'm not going to let them steal my peace, right? Even those people that come to you and say, if you don't go into the gym the moment you have a baby or the moment you have a little weight on. I had someone I was counseling who people took aside, she's on the bigger side, and told her, you have to start drastically losing weight now before you marry or have a child because of this and that. Cute, but you don't know what you're doing to the person. She hasn't even met her husband. What if her husband likes her better the way she is? Like, what is it? Anyway, that's the key thing that I would like us to know. Even we, on the other side of the coin, sometimes we do compare people. Let's be honest. Sometimes we look at people, and I mean it from the purest place, right? From a place of love. I'll give an example. There's someone who I've known for years. So I've seen them like break strides. Or I can give an example of myself, the same one for school. I was the top of my school, top of my class and whatever. That's how I've been my whole life from the time I was a baby, right? And so because of that, I was allowed to skip several grades. Maybe someone might look at me now like, yes, you attained your degree in 2021, 2020. This is 2023. How come you haven't just started working on your PhD? I'm saying that because this is currently graduation season here in this country. So maybe people are seeing other people graduate and they're DMing you like, okay, where are your accolades and stuff? That's belittling all the things that I am doing, all the other things that I have achieved outside of that sphere, the one sphere you know me from, which is, maybe my accolades in the educational side, right? So it's the same thing. I've like I said the other day, I was looking at someone and I'm thinking, this person was always like on a certain path. They wanted to be like, the head of the UN by now, like, because I've known them since they were young. So I'm sitting there like in the purest place, right? I want to have a conversation with them, like, look, maybe that's what I was thinking, like I should have a conversation with him. Like, is something wrong? Like the ambitious side of you, the this and that, like, is something wrong? Like maybe you may look at the other person who you had similar ambitions with and where they've gotten to. Like, I was really hoping it would jumpstart the person, like wow, you're actually right. Maybe I should put in a little bit more effort. But then when I had a conversation with a person and I heard where their head was at and the things that they wanted in life and all of that stuff, I was humbled real quick. And it reminds me of something that I personally use in moments like that. I don't think there's a problem with you having the heart to want to see someone do better, right? But there's another place where you have to respect that what you're giving them is just your opinion, and they are still given complete rights as to how to deal with their life, right? So you might be wondering, why am I saying that? Well, let's see what the Lord Jesus had to say about comparison. That's John 21:22. And I say it to myself, so it's sort of like a jingle, John 21:22, John 21:22. In such moments, it's like a trigger, like how people have safe words. I say it to myself if maybe I'm thinking, this person, maybe they need to do this, and I'm like, anyway, but John 21:22. Because the Bible tells us, like, the disciples were mumbling amongst themselves about John, and Jesus said, like, so what is it? Like, if I take him whilst he's still alive, he's still alive when I return and whatnot, what is it to you? What is that to you? I love how TPT puts it. It says, like, what concern is it to you? Like, why is it keeping you up? Like, in other words, it's none of your business. Like, so that's basically what I mean. Like, it's such a humbling thing for, like, it's a way I keep myself in check. I'm there like, but what is it to me? How a person chooses to live their life. Like, I'm genuinely concerned about them. Maybe they're not necessarily with someone I consider a bit toxic, but they've decided to not walk out from the relationship. What is it to me? Another reason why I'm touching on humility is because I believe if you are so convinced the only way this person will change, I just have to talk to them about their weight. They have to know that this is the same way maybe the person told me, like, look, you gotta work on your body. Like, I appreciate the comment, right? But then I would have preferred, if I don't know, maybe you pray for me, pray for my weight, pray for me to have an epiphany. The Bible tells us that the heart of the king is in the hands of God, and he turns it whichever way, like sort of like a river, like a current. He moves it whichever way he chooses. There's humility in understanding that you're not God, you're not almighty. The Lord is like the best person that will help. Even when we preach the gospel, the Bible still tells us that the spirit of conviction is no one would get born again without the Holy Spirit. He's the one who's on the inside turning their hearts to what you are saying. And that's what gives me, it's why I come here. And someone was telling me, like, you only have 400 and shining subscribers when my YouTube turned a year. Like, why am I crying? Why am I there celebrating? Look at the number of views you have in a week. You have no idea. I walked into this like Peter walking on water. I had never learned a thing about algorithms and whatever that you need in order to run a channel and stuff. I just went in when I felt the Lord and I were like, let's do this. I just went all in. I wasn't thinking about whether I'll have. I remember that my first video and I hit 100 subscribers. I still have the screenshot. I still look at it every day because to me it was a pure miracle, right? So what is it to you? Why I'm doing what I am doing? Like, there's humility in understanding that you might not know everything. You're not there. There's a saying in the Christian circles that when God calls you, it's not a conference call. So in other words, it's a you and God thing. And there's also humility in me understanding that God is doing something with another person. Another scenario that made me really want to come out here and talk about comparison is because even after he taught me this in 2020, and I've been working on it, like I said, John 21:22, John 21:22. When I got married last year, no, actually this year after giving birth, I came back home, you know, juggling being a wife, being a mom, being a leader, being all of that stuff, right? As I was still in that adjustment period, because I really feel like things are way better now. So I was doing something. It should have been something really petty. I don't know. I'm someone who's very systematic. Bear in mind, I'm very systematic. So I want, like right now I'm talking to you, or if someone's like, let me help you clean, I'm one of those people who's most probably going to come back and clean again. Why? Because I like my stuff the way I like my stuff. I want like my throw pillows to be a specific way. That's just how I am. And so in the moment I was, I think, cleaning up something, and I thought of my husband, and I thought, you know, if he learned my system, my way of doing things and stuff, it would really lessen, like in his endeavor to help me, if he learned how I really like things, it would lessen the load of me coming back to do it again, right? And I was very proud of myself for saying that. I mean, there's no harm, no foul. And the Lord asked me, and he said, when it comes to him being, you know, the head of the house, being the provider and whatnot, all of that stuff, has he ever slacked? Has he ever slacked or, you know, slowed down on his job? And I'm like, no, actually he's incredible. He's like a superhero in my eyes, really, in anything that has to do with anything pertaining to him and all the things he's required to do. I look at him like he's my example. After I was saying all of that to the Lord, then the Lord was like, okay, then you stick to your, you know, you do your part. And it hit me. I was just like, I was humbled real quick. I was really humbled. Like, that makes complete sense. Because sometimes maybe you're online and you see, yeah, you know, even though he goes for work and he comes back, like, I'm cooking, he's cleaning the dishes. Like, that's not necessarily my situation. His job is fully hands-on. And when he's not physically at his office and stuff, he's working 24/7, right? I live with him. I see these things. So my part is to ensure, like, and the Lord was practically telling me, like, Christina, but what about you? In like the scripture that tells us, like, someone is trying to take a speck of dust out of another person's eye, but there's a whole log in your eye. Like, you're ignoring a whole log and you're so concerned about the speck in another person's eye. Like, are you doing your part? Are you ensuring that things are running the way, like, when it comes to your side of things? In the same way, like, oh my God, he doesn't tell me I'm pretty, he doesn't blah blah blah. Am I doing my part? And I love that, because that changed my perspective. And every single time, like, before I open my mouth to complain about something, I go back and I introspect about my part. Am I doing my part? Right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, comparison, it's so easy to trap you. Like, if I can sit and I'm looking the entire school year, I'm looking at the person who just drinks, doesn't study, eats their school fees, instead of me studying, we'll both find ourselves failing because I'm busy looking in another person's lane instead of sticking to my own lane. When I first got born again, to the point of irritation, I disliked that almost every time, even when I'm praying or reading the scriptures or whatever, the Lord would always emphasize to me, like, your lane, like, focus on your lane. And I kind of understand, because I love and I love my people. I can spend the whole week, I'm just praying over my family, praying over you, praying over my husband, praying over, like, but what about your own lane? And the Bible tells us if my people would humble themselves and pray. It's why I'm saying, like, sometimes instead of you feeling so like, you know what, it will only change when I do it, when I talk to them, have you humbled yourself and actually prayed for them? Like, maybe the Lord would change this and that. And even if he doesn't, what is it to you that's him and this their thing? Ladies and gentlemen, what is it to you? So when it comes to comparison of self, that's when it comes to you comparing others or people comparing you to others, like anything that's external. But internally, if you're the one sitting there and you're comparing yourself, like, okay, how can I work on it? By using its enemy. The enemy, the opposite of comparison is contentment. And to be content is to have no desire for anything outside of what you have, to be satisfied. And I really feel like that's, if you look at all these examples that I was giving, when I talked about that woman who practically said I was too fat to see the doctor or whatever, because other women are slimmer at the time I had given birth. Imagine now if that was me sitting and I'm looking at all the other women. Because I mean, she said that I did look at the ladies on the line. I think there was actually only one and she was real skinny. But her baby was also really big, so she was obviously not at the same stage. But that's besides the point. My point is, if I sat there and I'm like, wow, she's right, look at how skinny this lady is, then I wouldn't be content. When you've gone through something as real as that, I went in with a number of people. Some people didn't come out with their babies. That's also a version of comparison. Like, my whole point is, when I went in, I'm just glad that I came out with my life. I came out with my baby. I came out healthy. Like, anyway, I won't get into that now, all the complications that could happen. My whole point is, I would have been robbed of that. But if I was content with my path, content with, okay, even though I did give birth by C-section, it's okay. I'm content with that. At the end of the day, I gave birth. At the end of the day, I have my baby. I love her. I love that I have my family. So my goal was to have a family. Do I have a family? Yes, I'm content. I'm satisfied with that. I don't care about who has a richer family. Oh, look, that one had twins or whatever. It's none of my business. What is it to me? So contentment will really help you appreciate your lane. It would make you zero in on your individuality and how unique you are and what God actually wants to do with your life. It's why I sat here and I was tearing about a channel that other people, for instance, said only has 400 subscribers, even though I don't necessarily care, because of the one person. I promise you, when I post the video, I've forgotten what they call it. Post and ghost. Yeah, post and ghost. There are subscribers who are like me, post and ghost. I can post a video and never come back to check the views. It's just because I'm working on coming back and commenting and responding to all the people who graciously commented on my video. That's probably when I'll see the views and all of that stuff, because in my DMs there are people crying and telling me how this has helped them and whatever. That's my goal, and I'm content and satisfied with that. That's the most important thing for me. That's primary. All these other things are secondary to that, right? As long as I'm happy doing what I was brought here to do. So I really hope this video has helped you. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. You tell me how you deal with comparison. Tell me how you stay content, how you stay satisfied in your own lane. I would like to learn from you as well.